I want you to try a quick experiment with me right now.
Okay.
Whether you're sitting in your living room or, commuting on a train, walking down the street, just take a second and look at the built environment around you.
Mm-hmm.
What is it made of?
Right.
Your brain probably defaults to the obvious stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like concrete, glass, steel, asphalt, maybe some brick.
Yeah, the physical atoms.
Exactly. But what if that's wrong? What if the city you're living in isn't made of atoms at all?
Oh, wow.
What if it's actually this psychological architecture built out of your own fears and desires and memories?
I mean, that's a heavy metaphysical question to start the day with, isn't it?
It is.
But honestly, it's really the only question that matters when we're talking about the text we're covering today.
It really is. So we are doing a deep dive today into a text that it pretends to be a travelogue, but it's actually a philosophical grenade.
That's a great way to put it.
We're looking at the mystical cartography of invisible cities by Max and Claude. And I think we need to be clear right off the bat here. Do not try to book a flight to any of these places on Expedia.
No, save your money.
You will not find them on Google Maps.
No, absolutely not. Because this text is, it's a catalog of impossible cities. We're talking about descriptions of places that completely defy physics, logic, geography.
Right.
But the authors aren't writing fantasy just for the sake of fantasy. They're using these really surreal images, cities made of plumbing or cities hanging from spider webs as lenses. They're basically arguing that these invisible principles are actually what organize the reality we live in every single day.
Which is exactly why I love this text so much. It feels like a fever dream, but then when you wake up, the real world just looks different. It's like putting on X-ray glasses. So our mission today is to act as your guides through this landscape. We've pulled out the most specific, just mind-bending cities from the text to see what they tell us about how we process desire, how we deal with death, and how we deceive ourselves about the passage of time.
And a fair warning to the listener before we get into it, once you see the logic behind these cities, it's very, very hard to unsee it.
So true.
These aren't just stories. They are diagnostic tools for your own life.
So let's jump right into the deep end with the geography of time. Because one of the core arguments Max and Claude make is that a city isn't just a place in space.
Right.
It's a measurement of time. And the city that perfectly illustrates this, and honestly the one that hit me the hardest personally, is Isidora.
Ah, Isidora.
Yeah.
Isidora is just a tragedy wrapped in a perfect urban plan. In the text, it's described as the city of fulfilled dreams.
Which sounds great on paper. I mean, who doesn't want to go there?
Sign me up.
Exactly. The traveler in the story, he dreams of Isidora his entire youth. And the details are just so specific. He imagines these spiral staircases encrusted with seashells and factories that produce telescopes and violins. He builds this place in his mind, literally stone by stone, as the ultimate destination.
Right. It's the someday city.
Yeah.
We all have this, right? Like someday I'll move to New York, or someday I'll retire to that quiet little villa in Tuscany.
Yep.
It's the location where your life finally makes sense. But the text introduces this really brutal twist.
Yeah.
The traveler does arrive in Isidora. He finds the spiral staircases. He finds the telescope factories. But he arrives when he's an old man.
That scene is so heartbreaking. He walks into the square where the old men sit against the wall, watching the young people go by, and he realizes he is one of them.
Yeah.
He's arrived at the city of his dreams, but he's too late to be the protagonist.
And it's not just that he's late. It's a commentary on the very nature of desire itself. The text is suggesting that desire has a half-life.
Oh, that's good.
The distance between imagining a place and reaching it isn't just miles, it's time.
Right.
And by the time you navigate that distance, the you that wanted the thing has ceased to exist.
That is the kicker right there. The city fulfills the dream, but the dreamer has vanished.
Exactly.
It's like, I don't know, spending your entire 20s grinding at a job so you can afford a lifestyle that by the time you get it, you're just too tired to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You're building a house for a version of yourself that dies before move-in day.
That's exactly it. Isidora teaches us that we constantly confuse the object of desire with the time of desire. You don't actually want the villa in Tuscany. You want the feeling of future potential you had when you first imagined the villa.
Wow.
When you finally get there, the potential is gone because it's now just reality. And reality is rarely as intoxicating as a dream.
It's kind of like the difference between looking at a really good menu and actually being full. Like, the hunger was the fun part.
In a way, yes. The anticipation carries a sweetness that the actual consumption rarely matches.
Speaking of reality being a letdown, we have to talk about Irene.
Oh, Irene.
This is another city that deals with that gap between what we expect and what we get. And honestly, this one felt like a direct attack on anyone who has ever posted a travel photo on social media.
Totally. Irene is this fascinating conceptual puzzle. The text says Irene is a city that exists in 3 mutually exclusive versions.
Okay.
But we use one name, Irene, to cover all of them, which creates this massive confusion.
Break down the 3 versions for us, because I think we've all lived this without even realizing it.
So first, there's the Irene you see from the window or from a distance. This is the city of the name.
Okay.
It's pure image, it's coherent, it's vivid, it's highly symbolic.
That's the postcard view. Or like the view from the airplane window right before you land, where everything looks like a perfectly organized circuit board.
Precisely. It represents the idea of the place.
Yeah.
Then there's the second Irene, which is the city you actually inhabit. This is the city of experience. And it is messy, it's often boring, your feet hurt, the bus is late, the smells are overwhelming.
The reality of it.
Yeah, it has almost no relationship to the city you saw from the window.
It's the sweat, the noise, the confusion.
Exactly. And then there's the third Irene, the city you remember after you leave. This is a reconstruction. You naturally filter out the sore feet and the bad smells, and you turn the experience back into a clean story.
So the problem is that we think Irene is this solid object, but it's actually a shape-shifting ghost.
Yes. The source text argues that wholeness is an illusion. We never experience a place or a person, for that matter, in its totality. We only ever get these fragments.
Those pieces.
Right. You either have the anticipation, the messy reality, or the curated memory. You can never have all 3 at once.
It completely explains why returning to a place you loved is often so disappointing. You're trying to visit the city of memory, but you land in the city of experience and they just don't match.
And the text warns us that the name hides this fracture. By labeling it all Paris or Tokyo or Irene, we trick ourselves into thinking it's one consistent thing. It's a linguistic trap. We essentially mistake the map for the territory.
Okay, so Isidore and Irene expose how bad we are at dealing with time and memory.
Oh, right.
But I want to shift gears to something a bit more visceral. Let's talk about living with precarity. Let's talk about the abyss. Because there's a segment in the mystical cartography that is visually terrifying, but psychologically surprisingly helpful.
You're talking about Octavia.
I am talking about Octavia. This is the spiderweb city. For the listener, I want you to just close your eyes for a second and try to visualize this. Octavia is a city suspended over a massive void between 2 steep mountains.
Yeah.
It is not built on the ground. It is literally hanging. It's this absolute masterpiece of engineering and precariousness. It's held up by ropes, chains, catwalks, but the key detail in the text is the foundation, or rather, the lack of one.
The foundation is a net. And below that net is an abyss, where if you drop something, you never hear it hit the bottom.
My palms are sweating just thinking about the description. It sounds like a nightmare. You'd assume that people living there would be completely paralyzed by terror, clutching the railings, afraid to move an inch.
Naturally.
But the text says the opposite. It says they live with a very specific kind of confidence.
They live with intensity. This is one of the most profound inversions in the entire book. The citizens of Octavia know the net is fragile. They know it will eventually break or rot.
Yeah.
They have zero illusions about permanence, and because of that, they do not defer life.
They don't say, oh, I'll take that trip in 10 years, or I'll tell her I love her next month. They simply don't have the luxury of procrastination.
Right. Contrast that with how we live in solid cities. We pave over the earth with concrete. We build these massive stone banks and skyscrapers. We create this elaborate stage set to convince ourselves that our civilization is permanent and that we're going to live forever.
We hide the abyss. We just put a nice rug over it.
We hide it so well that we forget it's even there. And because we think the ground is solid, we procrastinate, we waste time, we hold grudges.
Wow.
Octavia is honest. It admits that stability is the illusion and suspension is the reality. We are all hanging over an abyss. Octavia just removes the floorboard so you can't ignore it.
That's the aha moment right there. The fear actually creates the freedom. If you know the rope is going to snap, you make sure you enjoy the view right now.
Exactly.
It's almost like the city itself is a memento mori.
It is. It forces you to prioritize. In a solid city, you can just drift through life. In Octavia, you have to choose what matters every single morning.
But there's another response to the fear of the end, and that brings us to the city of Thecla. If Octavia is about accepting the end, Thekla is about frantically trying to prevent it.
Yes, Thekla is the city under permanent construction. If you visit Thekla, you won't see monuments or palaces or finished parks. You see scaffolding, burlap sacks, ladders, cranes. It's a construction site that stretches all the way to the horizon.
And the citizens are working feverishly. They literally never put down their tools. And when the traveler asks them, why is the construction taking so long? They answer, so that the destruction cannot begin.
This is such a crucial philosophical stance. They believe that as long as the city is being built, it cannot die. They fear the destruction that comes with completion.
I felt a little personally attacked by this section, I won't lie.
Same.
It felt like a diagnosis of every creative project I've ever started and abandoned halfway through. Or, the people who stay in grad school forever because they're afraid to actually write the thesis.
It's a very common human neurosis. The text says the unfinished is superior to the finished. And think about why. As long as a painting is unfinished, it could be a masterpiece.
Right.
As long as a novel is a draft, it could be the next War and Peace. It holds infinite potential.
But the moment you finish it,
It becomes finite. It is just what it is, and it's usually flawed. Completion kills the dream of perfection.
yeah.
The citizens of Thekla choose the anxiety of potential over the disappointment of reality. They keep building so they never have to face the verdict of a finished product.
So Thekla isn't about laziness, it's about perfectionism.
Hmm.
It's a defense mechanism against mediocrity.
Exactly. They're trapping themselves in the process because the result feels like a kind of death. But the irony, of course, is that by never finishing, they never actually live in the city.
Oh, wow.
They just live in the scaffolding. They live in the preparation for a life that never starts.
That is a brutal takeaway. You can live in the scaffolding of your own potential forever and never actually build the life you wanted.
Precisely. And in doing so, you miss the actual joy of habitation. A house is meant to be lived in, not just framed.
All right, let's move to the third layer of this map. We've done time, we've done precarity.
Yeah.
Now we need to talk about society and perception.
Yeah.
Because Max and Claude have some very unsettling things to say about individuality.
They really do.
And the city of Adelma is where this gets genuinely creepy.
Adelma is the city where the living perform the roles of the dead. It's probably the most gothic image in the text.
It plays out almost like a horror movie. The traveler arrives, and he starts looking at the faces in the crowd, and he realizes everyone looks familiar. The fishmonger looks like his dead father. A fever victim looks like his dead sister.
But it's really important to note here, this isn't a ghost story. The text isn't saying these are the literal spirits of the dead. It's describing a sociological mechanism.
Right.
The text explains that the dead leave behind forms or spaces, patterns of behavior, gestures, social roles.
Like a mold that's been left behind.
Yes, and the living, completely unconsciously, step into these molds to fill the void. The city requires a fishmonger, or a grieving widow, or a stern father. When the original occupant dies, someone else slides into that slot and eventually starts to resemble them.
That challenges our whole idea of being unique individuals. We like to think, I am me, I am original. But Adelma suggests we're just actors, reading from a script that was written centuries ago. We're just the understudies for the dead.
It's a radical denial of the self. We are just temporary occupants of these social functions. It really forces you to ask, how much of your personality is actually you, and how much is just you filling the gap left by your parents or your predecessors?
And the most poignant moment is the end of that section, with the harbor master.
Right.
Yeah.
The traveler looks at the harbor master and realizes he doesn't look like a dead relative.
No, he realizes the harbor master looks like himself, but older, at the moment of his own future death.
It's like the city is looking back at him and saying, don't worry, you're just a future ghost, and someone else will play your part when you're gone.
It totally dissolves the boundary between the I and the they. In Adelma, identity is a fluid that just pours from one container to the next.
It's deeply humbling. It reminds us that society is essentially a relay race, and we only hold the baton for a very short lap.
Let's lighten the mood slightly. Or maybe not, depending on your mindset. Let's talk about Zemrud. This city feels very, very relevant to modern psychology.
Zemrud is the city shaped entirely by the observer's mood. The text states explicitly, there is no objective Zemrud.
Okay, so let's paint the picture. If I arrive in a great mood, whistling, happy, I just got a promotion, the sun is shining, what do I see?
You see windowsills overflowing with flower boxes, fancy kiosks selling treats, people dancing in the squares. The city literally presents itself as a playground. Every corner invites you in.
But if I arrive the next day, same street, same buildings, But I'm depressed or angry.
Then you physically cannot see the flowers. Your eyes only register the gutters, the piles of refuse, the cracks in the pavement, the snarling dogs.
This sounds like confirmation bias on steroids.
It is.
Huh.
But the authors are making a broader point about the construction of reality. We tend to think the city is a fixed object, bricks and mortar, when we just move through it. Zemrud argues that we project our internal state onto the external world. We build the city with our eyes.
So if you're miserable, you are literally inhabiting a miserable city. It's not just in your head. For all practical purposes, the beautiful city does not exist for you.
Exactly. We are trapped in the city of our own mood. It's a reminder that we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. The external world is a mirror.
Before we get to the big reveal at the end, I want to touch on one more city that changes how we see our place in the world. Esmeralda. This one's about who actually runs this show.
Esmeralda is a brilliant piece of ecological philosophy. It describes a city governed by a secret trade route, but not between humans.
Right.
It's a network of exchange between the water rats in the sewers and the swallows in the sky.
I love this image so much. You have the subterranean creatures and the aerial creatures, and they have this massive, complex economy of information and access.
They map the city in ways humans can't even perceive. The swallows see the rooftops, the rats see the foundations.
And the humans.
The humans are completely oblivious. The humans think they run Esmeralda. They build the roads, write the laws, patrol the borders. But the text reveals that human civilization is merely existing in the gaps of the rat-swallow economy.
We are literally just the background noise for the animals.
It's a massive lesson in humility. We think civilization is a human triumph over nature. Esmeralda suggests that human civilization exists at the mercy of invisible ecological systems. Microbes, weather patterns, animal migrations that we rarely even acknowledge.
Yeah.
We're guests in our own home, and we're probably the least important part of the ecosystem.
It's funny, we build the skyscrapers, but the rats and the swallows are the ones who actually know how the building works.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've toured these incredible, impossible places. We've seen cities of memory, cities of the abyss, cities of the dead, cities of rats. But now we have to drop the other shoe.
Here it comes.
Because there is a structural twist in the mystical cartography that changes everything we've just discussed.
The coda. This is the skeleton key for the whole book.
So, throughout the text, there's this narrative frame happening. A traveler is telling these stories to an emperor. And finally, the emperor, who is getting a bit suspicious at this point, asks, "Where are these cities? Show me on the map."
And the traveler finally admits the truth. He says that every city he has described, Isadora, Octavia, Adelma, is actually the city they're currently sitting in.
That broke my brain a little bit the first time I read it. Explain what that means.
The traveler reveals that he hasn't been traveling to distant lands at all. He's been using these wild stories to describe the different invisible aspects of the emperor's own capital.
So the palace they're sitting in.
That is Zerma, a memory palace.
Wow.
The conversation they're having. That is Euphemia, the marketplace of words, the fragile nature of their dialogue. That is Octavia, suspended over the abyss of misunderstanding.
So invisible cities aren't fantasy places.
No. And this is the core mission of Max and Claude. These cities are lenses. They are principles organizing the here and now. Every city, your city, my city, the listener's city, contains all these invisible cities simultaneously.
That completely changes the utility of the book. It means we aren't looking at a map of a fantasy world. We're looking at an MRI of our own reality.
Exactly. We don't live in one single solid reality. We live in a multiplicity. We live in a city constructed by memory, Irene, a city hanging over the abyss of mortality, Octavia, a city shaped by our mood, Zemrud, and a city run by biological patterns we ignore, Esmeralda.
Yeah.
They are all here, layered on top of each other like transparencies.
So what is the ultimate takeaway for the listener? Why does it matter that my generic suburb or my downtown apartment is actually 50 invisible cities in a trench coat?
It matters because it gives you agency. If you understand that the city is constructed by these forces, memory, desire, mood, you realize that you are not just a passive inhabitant. You are a co-creator of the place you live.
You can choose the lens.
You can choose which city you want to inhabit today. You can choose to see the scaffolding of Thekla and realize you're afraid of finishing that project. You can see the flowers of Zemrud and realize your mood is painting the walls. It creates a profound kind of mindfulness.
It's about waking up to the complexity of where you are. It's about rejecting the idea that the world is just concrete and steel. Like we said at the beginning, the world is inexhaustible. It's waiting to be interpreted.
And once you start looking for the invisible city, the boredom of the real world just evaporates. There is no such thing as a boring place, only a boring way of looking at it.
I love that. So here is our final provocation for you today. When you step out your door, or even when you look around your room right now, don't look at the objects. Look for the invisible city.
Ask yourself, are you in Octavia today, hanging over an abyss but living with intensity? Are you in Thecla, forever building but afraid to finish? Or are you in Isadora, mourning a dream that took too long to reach?
Your reality is inexhaustible. Go out there and interpret it. Thanks for diving in with us.
It's been a pleasure.